Hi, Dr. Nicole Gruhl here, and today I want to talk with you about taking your vision and confidently turning it into a living, breathing reality. It's one thing to have a vision of what you want, the kind of life you'd love to live, the kind of impact you'd love to make, the kind of relationships you'd like to enjoy. But the gap between here, having it in our imagination, and there, actually living it, can be mighty frustrating. This is especially true for those of us that are big vision people, creatives, those that have had spiritually transformative experiences, and we've awoken something magnificent in terms of visions of what could be, and we feel compelled to make it happen. But it can feel like life's cordial is diluted when you know it could be so much more flavorful. A couple of weeks ago, I sent out an email asking for your top questions on the topic of confidently turning your vision into a reality. And I was flooded with a fabulous wave of responses. So thank you, thank you, thank you for that. And so I thought I'd shoot this video to speak to the top 3 questions that emerged. So we'll just jump right on in, shall we? How do I find my path? It might surprise you to know that many people don't actually really know what they want. And although most folks have a vague sense of I'll be happy when X, Y, and Z happens, or even some kind of a purposeful mission, what I've found in working with people from a variety of interests, talents, cultures, and personalities is that when we start exploring their deep desire, many are far from crystal clear on what they truly want and why. Fewer still have a clear sense of how to achieve it, and even fewer still are taking steps to make that a lived reality. So if you're already honing in on your vision and hungry to make it happen, congratulations. You are a rare breed. It's much easier to identify what we don't want. And for many of us, that is a great starting point. I know it might seem like people know what they're doing because everyone's just so busy doing things these days. But really, dig a little deeper and you will be surprised at how much uncertainty there is and how quickly people are ready to pivot in their paths for something better. Without clarity on what you truly want, it can feel like a boat floundering in the ocean. Sometimes the wind picks up our sails and sends us forth in a direction, and other times there's total stillness. But when you've identified your North Star, the direction that you want to navigate towards, you awaken an inner fire that is ready to take on whatever challenges the ocean may bring. That is the power of having a clear vision and taking active steps to making it a reality. You become unwavering in your path. So, what's essential in finding your path is first knowing what you actually want. To know what a day in that life will look like and feel like in detail. What is your main desired state of being as you move through that day? The details, of course, might not turn out exactly as you envision, but the clearer the picture becomes, and the more that we're able to embody that core desired state of being, the more able we become to step towards it and recognize aspects of it as it steps towards us. Another major piece of the puzzle is knowing why you want that. What is driving you deep down? And it has to be something truly meaningful to you, something that is so important that you're willing to shape your life around it. Perhaps you'd even be ready to risk your life for it. It's something that important. And now remember, we're not static creatures. We are continually evolving and growing. And so that means what we want and why we want it is also likely to change over time too. And that is perfectly fine. And so another super essential part of finding your path comes down to living your true self. The truer you can be to who you are, your true colors, then the easier it becomes to align to a path that is a perfect fit for you. And I get it, this can be really hard. We can be so easily swayed by all of the tempting external forces. They're very persuasive, by the dreams and ideas of others, by all the shoulds that we think we ought to do and be. And the pressure to conform to the collective is massive. But the problem is when we shape our lives in accordance with a picture that is not our true self, it usually results in feeling dissatisfied, like something important is missing, like there's a hole in our lives, and that we're not living our full potential. So when we learn to live from our true self, our most natural way of being, life starts to feel completely different. When our head, our heart, and our soul are on the same page, we wake up more energized, more focused, more able to respond to the moment in healthful and creative ways. And it's not like all of a sudden life is peaches and cream. I can assure you it's not, because we're all evolving and growing and being stretched through our experiences. But when we're living from our true self, our perspective is grounded in greater wisdom, knowing, and freedom. We can see and process things more accurately, and we therefore make better decisions. And look, not everyone's going to like it, and that is okay too. You're going to be happier at your core, and you will eventually attract more of the right people who vibe with you. You have to trust that process. And you don't have to be an enlightened being to live from this place. Just open to the adventure of you and the emergence of whatever it is that life wants to bring through you. Visioning from this place is a powerful, powerful process. And making our vision a lived reality is way more fun. We show up more fully in our relationships. We realize and play with our personal power to make more efficient change. And we naturally have a ripple effect on others that encourages them to be true to themselves. It's contagious in a good way. And a final piece to finding your path, and an important one that many people leave out, is finding the sweet spot. And that is where your calling meets the world's most pressing needs. It's one thing to have a vision and a sense of mission, but if it's not addressing anything that people or the planet truly want and need, then all of that beautiful soul fire of yours doesn't get put to best use, and it can quickly fizzle out. This is one of the greatest frustrations of people who have something burning inside but don't yet know how to appropriately apply it. Not only can it lead to disappointment, but also feeling rejected and even wondering what is the point. So once we get clear on what we want, why we want it, who we are, and how it serves the world, now is the time to get working on a concrete plan. And that leads us to the second big question that emerged. How do I make my vision a reality? So this is where the roadmap comes in. This is where we cook up all the juicy details and the most efficient steps to bring our vision into being. Here, we want to figure out the first steps we need to take. And then what? And then what? And now there's no such thing as a perfect blueprint. I wish there was too. But there is an art to road mapping that anyone can learn. And as it is with all arts, you have to dive in first and experience things to make the right adaptations for what comes next. We'll never just be able to predict every single thing that will happen, because life just doesn't work like that, even if you're psychic. And trust me, I know a lot of psychics. So this is the stage where perfectionists can get stuck, because we want to get all of our ducks in a perfect line first before we leap. Well, know that you'll never have the perfect plan. And even if you do, I bet that's not how things are going to turn out. So this is also where visionaries get stuck, because we have a big vision, but we can be clueless when it comes to implementation, strategy, and where to begin. So that one first step can seem like such a mystery. But the good news is there is such a thing as a working plan, this working roadmap, which can guide the way and from which you can make adaptations as needed. So you can think of it like an X on a treasure map. You know the overall destination, but the path to navigate there isn't always laid out in great detail. There's going to be surprises along the way, territories to navigate, challenges to overcome, characters to meet, and treasures to be discovered. You have to be adaptable. And there will even likely be transformations along the way. And you know what? That X might even shift. And there's so much we can't predict. But the good news is we can prepare, and we'll get to all of that in a moment. And so what if I have no time, no money, no resources, and no support, I hear you ask? This is a big point that came through many times in the questionnaire responses. And look, the fact is most of us are lacking in one area or another. The difference, though, between someone who lets a sense of lack stop them from taking action and someone who gets their gumboots on and jumps on in anyway is mindset. When we shift into a mindset of resourcefulness, of victory, that is moving the focus away from what we don't have to what we do have, then we begin to tap into our creative brain. And this is a skill, fortunately, that anyone can learn and develop. You know, some of the most creative people I know, those who have a deep conviction to make something of their lives, they come from some of the poorest and most violent parts of the world. But they make stuff happen precisely because the consequences of not doing so is so obvious to them. Their why is so strong that it makes them unstoppable. And many people in this situation take action again and again and again to keep on going despite the challenges. On the other side of the coin, I've had the privilege to grow up in a country with a very high standard of material wealth, but it is spiritually and psychologically emaciated. And what I've seen that creates in people is a longing to fulfill a vision, but a lack of confidence and know-how in how to do it. And so we all have limitations, and we all have to either choose to start somewhere with what we've got or not. It's a choice. And so for argument's sake, let's just say we wave that magic wand and overnight you did have all of those things that you think are keeping you bound in place. Play along with me here. Let's say for a moment you had an abundance of money, health, time, and people cheering you on. And just breathe that in for a moment. Yes. I bet that even with all of this, if you were truly connected to your why, then you would still be on fire about fulfilling a vision and about making an impact. You wouldn't just kick back and sip pina coladas for the rest of your life. You might for a while, but not for the rest of your life, because you're connected to something so much more than that. You would simply be making an even bigger impact. And if you were making a bigger impact, you would still have to be making decisions about what's next and what comes after that. And I bet no matter how much of the good stuff you have, money, resources, time, support, if you had not made a complete shift in your mindset to living from a place of abundance, no matter how much of everything you have, you would still feel lack in one area or another. And so the point here is, please don't let a feeling of lack in one or many areas of life stop you from making your vision a reality. There is always a step you can take towards what you see and feel in your bones to be possible. Just jump on in and keep on adapting. And so that brings us to the final question. How do I stay on track with my vision? Great. So we've connected to self. We're on our path. We're taking active steps now to make our vision a reality. We're feeling pretty good about it all. But now how do we stay on track? So, this is where we need to talk about the big inner roadblocks that can too often stop us dead in our tracks or keep us going around and round in circles. Self doubt, fear of stepping out, and various forms of stuckness, including past programming, past wounds, trauma, and great loss. The task at this stage of the game is to become masterful in navigating these challenges as they arise. They're pretty stubborn gremlins that can surface at the most inappropriate times, hey? And any one of these can be a massive blow to our sense of confidence, as they can keep us annoyingly trapped in all too familiar patterns that may have served us once upon a time, but now have likely become obsolete skeletons. And look, I just want to mention here that all of this is perfectly human. So let's not beat ourselves up about any of this. In fact, this is the time to lean in and give ourselves a big fat hug, because even coming to this place of recognizing and acknowledging these inner limitations is a huge feat. So, love and compassion are going to go a long way in this conversation. So, how do we shake the shackles? Well, the good news is there are numerous ways. The bad news is there is no one size fits all model. We are each a unique constellation of experiences and stories, and those have to be respected because they've brought us to where we are today. That said, here are 3 general approaches or practices that I hope you will find useful if you're currently wrestling with self doubt, fear, or any feelings of stuckness. The first is acceptance of what is as it is. We can't make any change in our life if we don't first acknowledge the elephant in the room. And I totally get how uncomfortable this can be. You might have heard of the poet Rumi, and he has this wonderful piece called The Guest House, where he encourages us to treat all the emotions as an honorable guest, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep our house empty of its furniture. He says to meet them at the door laughing, invite them in, and be grateful for whoever comes, because they have each been sent as a guide from beyond. And yes, I know this is much easier said than done, but you can consider it like muscle building. It can really, really hurt the first few times we connect with that muscle once we finally haul ourselves over to the gym or wherever, especially if we've never worked ourselves out with that muscle before. But with consistent practice, it becomes easier. We become stronger, we become better at using it, and it allows us to do more until one day we find we're actually doing it automatically and with a whole lot more ease. The second, and this one might surprise you, is to have a laugh about it. When we're caught up in self-doubt, fear, and stuckness, we can easily wind up taking ourselves and everything far too seriously. We get uptight, tense, anxious, and sometimes the quickest way to shift that energy is to introduce something completely counter to it. So, finding our sense of humor about things encourages us to relax and to let go and to see the situation in a new light. Our body, our mind, and our heart state literally can change in an instant. And look, I'm in no way dismissing the gravity of lived pain, loss, or trauma, and nor am I encouraging spiritual or emotional bypassing. I am totally about keeping it real. And I'm also about tapping into that place in us that knows lightness, joy, innocence, playfulness, and grace. We were all kids once, and that childlike spirit has never left any of us. In fact, hanging out with kids and animals or in nature can be a great way to rekindle that simple spirit of play and presence. And by doing so, we have more spaciousness to meet self-doubt, fear, and stuckness when they surface. Again, we're becoming more resourceful. And the third, to becoming masterful, is about making empowering choices. You know that saying about feeling the fear and doing it anyway? Like we've spoken about, when you are connected to the true you and your why, You are connected to a strength that is unshakable. It is pure gold. And there's always going to be the naysayers, and good luck trying to make everyone happy. The clearer and stronger you are in your direction, the greater the impact you make, the more feathers you're likely to ruffle. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. The world would actually be mighty boring if we were all the same. And so you are the only one that can assess what will truly be empowering or disempowering to you. And of course, there are always things beyond our control. But within our control is how we respond to life. And there's so much that you do have a choice in. As we make empowering choices, we strengthen ourselves. And once again, this better prepares us to navigate self-doubt, fear, and stuckness when they come. So we can see them there and do what we need to do anyway. And then as we grow stronger in the self, we're likely to also find how we respond to the same old patterns will be different. The interesting thing is that often our self-doubt, fear, and stuckness appears so gargantuan. And yet as soon as even a small step is taken to challenge them, a small, tiny baby step, it can be, and of course in an empowering direction, it can drastically change their perceived largeness over our lives. And so I invite you to embrace a spirit of adventure and experimentation when it comes to these old patterns and just see what happens. So now you're becoming more masterful in navigating the inner challenges. There's also plenty of things you can do to set yourself up for success and staying on track with your vision. Let's look at those. To create an empowering circle of support. So what that means is creating connections with people, communities, and organizations that are aligned with your vision and your vibration. If we can do this in our personal relationships and friendships too, that is all the better, because that just makes life so much easier and more pleasant. It is immensely encouraging to do things, to not do things alone, and to know that there are good people out there that you can turn to when you need for support, advice, clarity, collaboration, a good cry, those who've got your back, who believe in you, who are cheering for you, and who are doing it too. Those are the folks who completely get you. And this elevates your vision and path to a whole new level of operation. Another is to simply do what you have to do to stay clear on your path. The world is full of shiny objects that can so easily and quickly distract us from our path. Life can get so busy and so full so fast. And regular cleansing then and clearing of our inner and outer worlds go a really long way to keeping clear and focused in our own body, mind, and spirit. It's just like how we get our car tuned to keep it running smoothly. You do what is needed, prioritize you as best you can when it comes to your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health, and be unapologetic about it. You will serve others better that way and longer, even when they don't see the method to your madness in the short term. And a final one is to stay connected to the big picture. Once we get going on our paths, it is really easy to get lost in the details. And so taking regular moments to step back, to reconnect to the bigger picture of our why, to our core desired state, of that life force energy that moves through us, and what it is asking of us is imperative. This is where all the re words come in handy. Recenter, reconnect, remember, reset, refresh, etc. What you will find as you step more and more into your vision and as it becomes more your reality is that life is going to continually evolve. We evolve as humans and our visions evolve with us. And that is perfect and beautiful. The sweet spot where our gifts and our desires meet the world's needs also evolves too. And so it's a very dynamic process. And the sooner we can be at peace with that and adapt to that, the more enjoyable the ride becomes. Stepping confidently into the life you envision is awesome. And it's not just for visionaries, entrepreneurs, and big personalities that want to change the world. It is also for the spiritually adventurous, the quiet achievers, the creatives, the sensitives, the magical beings, and the practical dreamers. And it's for you if there is something bubbling inside you that wants to make its way into the world, even if you can't quite grasp it yet, but you know it's there. I just love bringing visions to life, and I've been helping others with this for many years now. And lately, I've gotten so many questions, so much positive feedback that I've decided to do a deep dive training just on this topic. The training is going to be specifically on stepping confidently into the life you envision without the overwhelm, so that you can fulfill your highest potential. It's going to go deep into those 3 questions we just talked about, and we're going to do it over 3 live calls. So the first will be about how to find your path by getting crystal clear on what you want, aligning to and living from your true self, as well as finding that sweet spot. In the second call, we start to make that vision a reality as you learn what is needed to create your roadmap, even if you have limited time, resources, money, support. And the third and final call is about staying on track and all the things that you can do to keep manifesting your vision as you and it evolve, including overcoming those inner hurdles of self-doubt, fear, stuckness, and to do it in healthful, gentle, and even playful ways. It's going to be coming out very, very soon, and there's going to be a limited number of spots because each session also has a live Q&A component, and I want to be sure that you get your questions answered. So it is a group program, and because of that, I'm able to offer it at a much lower price than if we were to do one-to-one coaching together. So yay for that. I'll be sending out an email in the coming days, so stay tuned. And that's when we open up registration for the Vision to Victory course. I'm really excited to be sharing this power-packed 3-week course, and I can't wait to see you step even more confidently into your vision. So I'll see you there.